Baghdadi was the British-born son of Jewish parents trained from early life in a well-known Mossad program to place sleeper agents within key Arab nations. He was trained in psychological warfare and in espionage against Arab and Muslim Islamic peoples and nations. And there is that rather famous photograph in which some people say that al-Baghdadi, or Simon Elliot Shimon, was right there in the same photograph as John McCain. It says, in this case, Shimon Elliott became al-Baghdadi in Iraq under a fake identity and was laundered through an American prison to be the actor commanding the long-proven fake Islamic State that appeared from nowhere, fighting the battles of Israel and America's neocon right. They're saying as well, a report, that Baghdadi, or Mr. Shimon, moved in and out of Israel, and according to reports in the Arab media, died in an Israeli hospital in 2017 with one Bibi Netanyahu right there by his side. Now they ask, is there more than one al-Baghdadi? Possibly. What we do know is this: we reported this story over 5 years ago, and yet it is removed from our servers, our archives, delisted by Google, and this information has been a prime target of Israel counterintelligence, which means it's most likely true. With reports from Russia now read and re-reported around the world that the Baghdadi killing of October 27, 2019 was faked, no American planes or helicopters were in the region, this story below becomes more credible. We must remember that Russia moved an S-400 system into Syria after Turkey shot down a Russian plane and Turkish operatives executed the pilot. This was only miles away from the alleged American either re-killing of the dead or fake killing of a Mossad leader of a U.S.-backed organization to destroy Syria and Iraq, speaking, of course, of ISIS. So, again, you have this guy reported to be not a Muslim by any means, but a British-born Israeli citizen, an agent of the Mossad, or trained by the Mossad, to engage in psyops and espionage against Arab, Islamic, Muslim peoples and nations. Again, it says this is a man who fights the enemies of Israel only and does so with mercenaries paid for, trained, and armed by Israel or Israel's allies, the U.S. and Saudi Arabia, Turkey as well, someone who has moved terrorists through airport after airport. ISIS could only exist with the broad support of the Mossad, with a Mossad leader, with CIA and MI6 help, and tons of Saudi cash. In addition, there is broad proof that Georgian, Romanian, and Ukrainian intelligence support ISIS as well. And again, they have a little bit more, actually a good bit more, about Mr. al-Baghdadi, born to two Jewish parents, an agent of Mossad, recruited by the Mossad, trained in espionage, psychological warfare against Arab and Islamic communities. That basically, as a non-Arab, as a non-Muslim, he went around trying to attract and recruit extremist terrorists from around the world for not the benefit of some Islamic caliphate, but for the benefit of Israel. And there's reference in this particular piece to Greater Israel and what they wanted to deem, or what they were aiming to make Greater Israel as well when it comes to those borders. Now, again, this is a guy, al-Baghdadi. He has been reported to have been killed numerous times. What's interesting as well is you have a picture here from northerntruthseeker.blogspot.com, and it's asking, is this Trump watching the 3:30 p.m. raid on al-Baghdadi. The timestamp of this photo indicates it was taken at 17:05 p.m. In other words, the times don't match up to when the raid was supposed to be taking place, and the photo that's being put out there of Trump in the Situation Room with Pence and with his current Secretary of Defense and with other military brass all supposedly watching this transpire. Now, it also points out that Trump pulling U.S. troops from the northern border allowed Turkey to attack the Kurds and to free ISIS prisoners, and ask, perhaps rhetorically, has Trump been helping ISIS forces to escape? When Trump withdrew, when we supposedly withdrew, or did withdraw for a time, Turkey came in and invaded, and at least 750 people with links to ISIS were then able to escape captivity. It also mentions here that the military boss of Hamas is a Jew who works for the Mossad. This picture of John McCain, allegedly with Simon Elliott, aka al-Baghdadi, is on this in this particular piece as well. And I will post this on the American Faith Today Facebook page. But again, al-Baghdadi reported killed in 2013, reported killed in 2015, reported killed in 2010, 2016, 2017, and now he's dead again. The poor guy just keeps getting killed over and over and over again. Or does he really? Well, I'll leave that up to you to decide, but hopefully you can tell that something stinks royally on this. And that, once again, we obviously are being lied to. There may not even be an actual al-Baghdadi. There probably is a man who assumed the role of being al-Baghdadi, but he's not who he was represented as. And, you know, a couple things with this that I'll touch on just real quickly as well. You've got Donald Trump. I'll guarantee this pretty much escaped certainly his supporters' radar. From the independent.co.uk, Trump threatens to drop ISIS fighters right at the UK border and leave Britain to have fun capturing them again. Latest threat comes after Kurds warn they will not be able to maintain security at ISIS camps amid Turkish attacks. Britain is not only our brother from even the tribes of Israel. I believe that United States is basically Manasseh, Britain is basically Ephraim, but we have always been allies. And you know, exception if you want to say the Revolutionary War, but certainly since then we have always been allies. And here you have our closest ally, probably not even arguably, just our closest ally, that our president threatening to drop ISIS fighters right at the UK border because he decides to throw a tantrum and get mad at the UK because he's not happy at how the European nations and how the EU has handled all of this. In the meantime, you've got Trump, when supposedly we were leaving the Middle East to get out of all of the endless wars and to bring our troops home. Well, as I touched on the last time I did do a podcast, not only did he follow that up less than 24 hours later with sending whatever the number was of troops, more troops to Saudi Arabia, we simply moved troops from Syria into Iraq for a time, which the Iraqi people were not too pleased with. Said that we weren't welcome there, that our troops weren't welcome there. And I could say, and not to get into this particular debate, because I do believe in border security, but it is interesting that we have this president that wants to talk tough, not really do a whole lot, but wants to talk tough when it comes to our border and to our sovereignty, but yet just sending our troops into another sovereign nation without the permission of that nation, just basically invading that nation, even militarily, is perfectly all right. But far be it that some people come across our southern border. And again, I'm not, that's not necessarily the point. I'm just saying, you might say a good bit of hypocrisy there. That, again, a guy who goes to the United Nations and lectures and stipulates to the United Nations that you have to respect our sovereignty, and if you respect our sovereignty, we'll certainly respect the sovereignty of other nations and so forth. Well, apparently not so much. But now, and he's just come out and said it, and I've posted this a couple of times. I know several people have shared it. His Secretary of Defense has said that we basically are going back and are maintaining a presence in Syria to secure the oil, fields and oil wells. And that would be one thing. If the argument was, in one sense, what Trump has tried to make it, that we don't want ISIS getting their hands on the oil, because that's how they grow, that's how they get funded. Well, number one, that's not entirely true to start with. They get funded by Saudi Arabia, by some of these other nations, by Israel, by us, no doubt, or aided by us in various ways. But no, he's basically just said, we've secured the oil and we're going to decide what to do with it. And he's even said, in his stupidity of tweeting, even said, that he's asked, what are we getting, or what did we get out of Syria? He said, well, we got the oil out of it. So basically he's saying that we should just go in and claim Syria's oil as our own, which basically amounts to an international war crime. So why people cannot see this and why people continue to support him is, quite frankly, sad. But I will touch on this just real quickly in the last couple minutes that I have, because that's all that I've got. Couple things. You've got, like I said, civil unrest all over the place. From ZeroHedge.com saying we now have mass public unrest in France, Spain, Algeria, Iraq, Lebanon, Egypt, Hong Kong, Venezuela, Chile, Ecuador, and Bolivia. They also talk about how, obviously, the impeachment inquiry here in the United States, how divided we are as a nation, Extinction Rebellion in Australia, Canada, and others, deepening polarization in the U.S., and so it is that you have unrest in some form on pretty much every single continent. Now, if you don't think this is planned, I'll guarantee you it's planned. The Lebanon Prime Minister has just resigned. People are there demanding that the entire government of Lebanon step down. And this is all, again, to get people stirred up against one another, to get people to lose faith in their own governments, in their own leaders, so that when the time comes that these globalist Kenites behind the scenes want to at least try to unveil their governmental alternative, which may be this organization of 70 nations, at least in part, people will look at it as the only alternative. Anyway, that's some of what's been going on. I've got to end this. Everybody have a great day. Take care. God bless.